This is Gabriela on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. We have a real treat for you just around the corner, and that is Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. Jeff is the owner of Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and he will be coming to you weekly to teach you more about empowered living. Now, let's join Jeff already in the studio.
Hello and welcome. This is Jeff Byrd with Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and this is Empowered Living. Today we're going to address a topic that I love. It's very near and dear to me, and the title is called The Winning Culture. The Winning Culture. Now, in coaching and leadership training, we have a quote that says, culture eats vision for lunch. In other words, I don't care how grand your vision is. If you don't have a culture and interactions within your team that can make that happen, that can get people where they need to go, it's never going to happen. You're never going to see that vision fulfilled unless you have a healthy culture behind it. Now, you know, sometimes maybe you've experienced this. You walk into a place and you don't know what's going on, but you can tell something's wrong, right? I was in a culture like this one time in a business, and someone walked in and we knew them pretty well. And they came up and they leaned on the counter and they said, "Tell me what's going on so I can be mad too." They had no idea what was wrong with us, but they knew that our culture was off. And we weren't getting along, and there was friction, and there was terrible leadership. And they said, "Tell me what's going on so I can be mad too." They could just feel that negative energy. And that's the way it is with culture. You know, we don't fool people as much as we think. If there's things that are off, if there's relationships that are off, communication that's off, people walking in can feel that. Most of them can. Some people are fairly dull, but the better part of people can feel that when they walk in. We're not hiding anything from anybody. And that's why culture is so important. You know, actually more than 50% of employees say that they would stay at jobs that paid less if they could work for a great boss. We're just looking for somebody that appreciates us, values us, that we can relate to, that creates a healthy culture. Now, the opening passage that I want to use for today is one of my favorite Psalms. And as I was looking at this again recently, and it occurred to me, wow, this is really kind of a cultural passage. So I'm going to read it to you, and then we'll break it down and look at how some of these principles here can apply to culture, if it's in your even family, but in your business, in your organization, in your teams, in your whatever you may be involved with. The reference for the Psalm is Psalm 103 verses 2 through 5. And it says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget none of his benefits, who pardons all your who pardons all your iniquities, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit, who crowns you with loving kindness and compassion, who satisfies your years with good things, so that your youth is renewed like the eagle." Wow, that's some big positives. And the psalmist here is telling himself, he's talking to himself, he's talking to his soul, and he says, listen, don't forget any of these things. Don't forget the culture that you have with God. And as a result, thank him. When it says bless the Lord, to me, that's like, thank you so much. You are fantastic. Oh my, I appreciate everything you've done for me so much. And we can certainly have that, and hopefully we do, in our relationship with God, but also in our relationship with others, even in our business relationships. So here's a few things that I take, a few qualities that reveal a healthy culture that passage gave me the basis for. And number one quality of a healthy culture is forgiveness. Forgiveness. And in this instance, I'm going to define that as seeing value in another beyond their failures. Seeing value in another beyond their failures. Now, often I'll have a room full of people and I'll ask them, I said, now, if I were to hold up a fresh new $100 bill here, who would like to have that? And every hand goes up. I say, okay, what if I crumpled it up and threw it on the floor? Would you still want it? Yep, everybody still wants it. What if I took it outside and threw it in the mud? Would you still want it? Sure, because it can be washed off. The temporary condition of the $100 bill has no impact on its value. So it is with people. We all have days where we're better than others, and our temporary condition is no indicator of our permanent value. And even when we mess up, the person who can look on us, who can forgive that, who can see our value beyond that failure, that goes a long way when everybody's doing that towards creating a very healthy culture. And I have a story that happened to me many years ago. I was a teenager back at the time, and I just started driving. Actually, I've been driving for a couple of years, but I was trying to back the car into our driveway. And we had a garage right at the back of the driveway. And when you got to the back of the driveway, there was our kitchen with a window overlooking the rear part of that driveway. And so I was backing down the driveway. It was a big old 74 Chevrolet Impala, big old beast of a car. And I was backing down. I got a little close to that garage door and crunch right into the garage door. And then I looked up, and the kitchen table was right inside that kitchen window. And Dad often sat at that kitchen table. And sure enough, I hadn't any sooner crunched that door than he popped up in that window. Looking at what I did, and I thought, oh no, he's going to let me have it now. But you know what? He didn't. He came out there and he looked at it, and he got a hammer and he started beating that aluminum garage door back into shape. And nothing was said about it. And a few days later, he came to me. We were in a nice quiet place. It was good. Nothing bad came of that story. And he said, the other day when you backed into the garage door, I said, yeah, I remember that. He said, I didn't like that one bit. He said, but before I said anything, I realized that you didn't like it any better than I did. And that's why I didn't say anything about it. He said, I knew you already felt bad about it. I knew you already hated that it happened. Why do I need to make that worse? And so often it's that way with people, and now there's different types of people. Some people just seem to delight in doing things that injure other people, but sometimes there's real mistakes that happen. It's completely unintentional, and they don't like it any better than we do. Why make them feel bad about it? It's like the difference in those type of people is the difference between a pig and a sheep. Somebody once told me a pig and a sheep might both fall into the same mud hole, but whereas the pig is squealing in delight, the sheep is bleeding trying to get out. So when you have those type of people, it pays to look on them, continue to see their value, forgive what was done, and then work together towards something better. The second aspect of a winning culture is healing. Now, I got to thinking about this, and I thought, what is health? What is health? Health is the inclusion of the positives with the elimination of the negatives, right? In your physical health, if all you did was take in the good stuff, all the nutrients, and you could get rid of everything bad in your body, you'd have great health. What about in our mind? What's going in the mind? What if we're only putting positive things in our mind and getting rid of the negative things? Maybe turning off the news for a while and only putting in those positive things. And in our soul, in the way we feel, what if we only put in things that were positive? Now, I realize I'm realistic. I realize we can't to get rid of all the negative, we'd have to leave the world, and we can't do that. But what I'm talking about is on the things that we can control, minimizing the negative and enhancing that positive signal, right? So, and it occurred to me that, hey, antioxidants on the physical side are so important, right? The antioxidants are the things that go around our body, the free radical scavengers, they call them. They go around looking for those free radicals that will harm our body, and they attach to them and they eliminate them. And I thought, who are my antioxidants? Who are your antioxidants? Who is it that helps you find those negative, damaging messages and things in your life and helps you get rid of them, helps you bring the positive and magnify the positives? Just one person in your life like that can make a huge difference. I'm on the board of a center for people with disabilities, and I do trainings several times for them a year. And once I was doing a training, and I wanted to hear from the people who were participating that day. And so we had them share some stories, and one after one, they shared how they had this disability and so many people were against them and life just seemed against them. But because there was one person who believed in them, just one person, and they'll remember that. They'll remember by name. They'll remember exactly what they said. Because of that one person that believed in them, they were able to overcome all those other negative messages and keep moving forward and keep achieving and keep succeeding and reaching their goals and their dreams. So we don't want to allow the negative in. And on a team sometimes, you'll have that one bad apple, that one negative person that just brings everybody else down. He's pushing everybody else down to try to build themselves up. And often what I found is that this might be a gifted person. They might be really good at something. Well, let me ask you this. Think of your favorite, say, chocolate, for instance. If you knew that your favorite chocolate was laced with arsenic, would you eat it? Of course not, because that benefit of having chocolate, the enjoyment of having the chocolate would be far outweighed by the potential threat of what was going to happen because of the arsenic. And it's that way when we have a talented person with a bad attitude who just doesn't get along with others. We don't want them on our team because of the poison, the effect of that poison that they bring is going to far outweigh the impact of their skills. If we can find another person who's healthy, who's really healthy, they can learn the skills if they're somewhat competent. But to have a person that's skilled, but that just brings that poison with them in their attitude, that's going to bring the whole team down. Okay, I want to give you, still on this health, I want to give you 6 practices for positivity and health. Okay, the first one is write down positive things to help them stick. Have you ever just woken up with some great ideas on your mind and you thought, oh, surely I'll remember that when I finally get up today, and you got up and it was gone? We need to write down the positive things. When we have that thought, often I'll use the voice memo on my phone to get the positive thoughts recorded so I can come back to them, think about them, maybe write about them, maybe even do a podcast on them. But write down document those positive things to help them stick. Just the act of recording them helps them stick. Okay, number 2 is visualize the opposite of the negative. Visualize the opposite. If you can picture a negative scenario happening, you can also picture its opposite. It's called the law of polarity. There's 2 sides to everything. So if instead of picturing the negative, visualize its opposite. Visualize the positive. Picture that happening. Put that in your mind and in your heart. The third thing is minimize external negative noise. Minimize the negative noise. I asked a group the other day, I said, can you imagine what your day would be like if when you woke up in the morning, you had no negative input from the media, no negative input from other people, and no negative input from your own thinking? They said, oh my goodness, I'd have a wonderful day. Right. So what are the things that we control? What can we do to turn down that radio or turn that broadcast off that's bringing in just negative messages, negative reports? Who that's typically negative can we make a decision not to be around? And who that's positive can we be around instead of that? So how do we turn down that negative noise? And in our own thinking, when we have those negative thoughts, how can we turn that down by putting the positive in, picturing the positive in its place? Okay, number 4 is to focus on reality. And this asks the question, where am I right now? And what's the next step? Even if it's a little step, what's the next step that you can take towards where you want to go? If you have a dream of something, the bigger the dream, the longer it might take to get there. But as long as you are on a daily basis doing something that helps you move in that direction, that's progress, and that's something to feel good about, and that will help you. That will help with your health. To never be moving and just keep having dreams, that's very discouraging. That's very unhealthy. And then again, back to the antioxidants. Who are the people who help you with that? Who is it that can help you keep you accountable to moving forward? Number 5 is the saying, this too shall pass. If you're in a negative situation and there's nothing you can do about it, just remember that this too shall pass. It never rains every day. You will get through this. Someone said, in times like these, it's good to remember there have always been times like these. We like to think back on the good old days that, if we really think about it, probably weren't so good. So we don't want to get too down because of a temporary difficulty. We got to remember this is temporal. I'm growing. I'm moving in the right direction. I'm putting the right things in my mind. I'm developing healthy people around me, creating a healthy culture. This too shall pass. It's not going to be this way forever. Let me keep going forward. And then turning down, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but turning down that dial of internal negative chatter. A friend of mine said that anytime she ever goes to do something important, she can just hear all of this inner chatter. Oh, you can't do that. Those people don't care. They don't want to listen to what you say. Other people do it better.